Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Eat Well, Feel Well. I am your host, Dr. Brittany Panico, board certified rheumatologist in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And I am here to highlight nutritious ingredients and anti-inflammatory recipes to help you and your family eat well and feel well. So this week, I actually delayed our video because I wanted to talk about ways that you can incorporate anti-inflammatory foods into your travel plans. And the reason that I bring this up is because a lot of us are getting ready to start traveling for the summer, or maybe we just started our spring break, came back from spring break, depending on where you live. And I think it's really important that we highlight and talk about that anti-inflammatory living, incorporating this type of eating into your lifestyle is not just about the foods that you can make at home. It's about how you can pick and choose foods when you're out and about in the real world and tempted by pre-packaged ingredients, how you can actually make good choices to stick on your plan. And I find that the more things that I can show you that are practical tips, the easier it's going to become to start thinking about this when you're out thinking about grocery shopping, buying products when you're out at the airport or at restaurants, looking at choices that you're making when you decide what kind of food to purchase. So I traveled this weekend. I was traveling for a conference. And of course, I had packaged up some snacks and thought I was doing really great on time. And then realized, oh my gosh, I'm in a rush. I've got to get to the airport now, and left all of my thought out things at home. So I get to the airport, and of course, I'm hungry. I had been working up until my travel plans and am faced with the decision of, what do I do? Do I go stand at McDonald's? Do I go stand at Starbucks and wait in line? Or do I find something that is not going to necessarily disrupt my diet plan? And I don't necessarily like to use the term diet. This isn't about losing weight. This is about reframing our brain to think about the ingredients that we're eating and what those ingredients are doing to our body. So it is so easy to go get fast food, to go get a bag of chips, to go find something that is quick and easy. But it just takes a minute extra of thinking of those decisions to start to retrain your brain into things that are actually nutritious for you. So when I talk about things that I had planned to bring on my flight, so of course we don't bring liquids onto an airplane or through security, but we can bring food. There isn't anything to say that you can't bring in food through the security line. So one of the easiest things to do is bring something that's not going to necessarily get squished in your bag, your carry-on bag, your purse, something that you're going to bring with you. And when I say that, when we think about like fruit or something that is, we can package into a healthy snack, things like berries are going to be softer and not necessarily as easy to transport unless you have them at the top of your bag. So if you pack everything and then you put a bag of blueberries, strawberries on the top, then by all means, you can bring those along. But if you're going to pack something that may inadvertently get smashed or squished along the way, you want to pack something that has either is in a structured container that's not going to get squished, or something that will transport through that movement of the bag. And one of those things that's fairly easy, even if it gets a little bit squished, is something like an orange. So you can bring like cuties if you have children, you can bring an orange, something like an apple. Bananas are going to get bruised if you smash them. So even though they're pretty malleable, you don't necessarily want to, bruise them too much in that transportation process. But oranges are pretty hardy and can withstand a little bit of a squeeze. So I had planned to bring an orange, and then I had a little Tupperware container of strawberries that I had packed. So that's what I had thought that I was going to have for my lunch at the airport. And then inadvertently, when life gets in the way, I made it to the airport and don't have my food that I had planned. So I showed a picture on Thursday about the meal that I had sort of purchased that served as my, in a sense, my anti-inflammatory ingredients. And it was, I bought it at Pete's. So if you fly in and out of the Arizona airport, the Pete's coffee bar section actually has some really healthy options, and, you know, an iced coffee. And then I bought a little snack pack that has some lunch meat, some cheese. It was basically mozzarella cheese, and then some almonds. And I know that in a lot of these videos, we talk about packaged ingredients and things that are not manufactured. And you can definitely argue that lunch meat is a processed product. That is 100% certain. And I do try to offer, you know, plant-based or more vegetarian ingredients as well. But if you have to decide, and if you are somebody who eats meat, then something like lunch meat, again, presuming that you're not somebody who has heart failure and specifically watching your salt intake, lunch meat is actually not so inflammatory on the scale of things that can trigger inflammation. And the reason being is that because you're not really eating a lot of it, you're having basically a serving, and that acts as your protein. And cheese wrapped in lunch meat is actually a great snack that makes you feel full because of the protein of the lunch meat and then the healthy fats of the cheese. So I had that, and then almonds. They were just raw almonds, nothing fancy, no specific seasoning. But it actually ended up being, you know, pretty decent meal on the go. And it was that decision of purchasing that packaged product versus something like a packaged sandwich that comes with a bunch of other ingredients that I may or may not necessarily know where those come from. And, you know, another pre-made sandwich, so to speak, that you can buy over the counter at one of the food vendors. And then things like chips that are obviously packaged and processed, and candy, of course. So again, really just drawing your attention to those little decisions that bring you out of the sugar processed carbohydrate realm and more into the things that you recognize as food. So even though, again, cheese is manufactured, lunch meat is processed, they're still recognizable products that you understand what those are. So that being said, I also found some snack options that are also, you know, decently healthy. And I like this brand of nuts because it incorporates a bunch of different flavors, and the ingredients actually, you know, have a purpose and they taste good together. So this one in particular is maple pecans, and the pecans are glazed with cinnamon and then cherries. So, you know, we talk about berry ingredients, so dried cherries, apples, and then walnuts. So pecans and walnuts are actually a great nut mix because they are jam-packed of omega-3 antioxidants and omega-3 fats, and do a great job at making you feel full while also being nutritious. And walnuts are actually very great for your skin. And then pecans, they generally taste good and have, you know, those healthy fats as well. So when you're deciding about what type of trail mix or mixtures, you want to look for things that, again, have a purpose, that aren't just necessarily filler products. So if it's something like coconut chips, or if it's something like, you know, a dried fruit, then the ones that have more nutritious benefit are going to be like your apples, your cherries, your dried blueberries, your dried cranberries, versus the sort of, you know, dried pineapple is okay as well, but again, it's not necessarily as nutritious when it's processed. So this brand has lots of different mixtures, and I specifically chose this one to highlight because of the cherries and the walnuts. They also have almonds, different varieties with almonds, and I think pistachios. So whether or not you like more of a spicy mixture versus something that's a little bit sweet. And then just, you know, to draw attention to the ingredient list. You want to try to pick out things that are recognizable and not so much manufactured. So this one in particular, I really like that for the most part, it lists the ingredients in things that I recognize. So pecans, walnuts, dried cherries, which are cherries with some sugar, dried apples, which are apples and sugar, organic cane sugar, maple sugar, organic tapioca syrup, brown sugar, sea salt, cinnamon, and other natural flavors. So again, we're not completely eliminating the sugar in this because it is designed to be a sweet with the saltiness of the nuts and the crunch. But again, on the scale of things that are more nutritious versus less nutritious, something like this that has 14 grams of carbohydrate is going to do more for your body and be more beneficial to your digestive system than choosing something like Skittles or M&Ms or licorice, which are empty sugar calories that your body can't really process for nutrition. So again, I'm not arguing on the spectrum that we're getting rid of sugar entirely. We're just trying to make wiser, more conscious choices about what those products are doing inside of our body. So if you want to eliminate the sugar, by all means, the packaged almonds that I talked about, and I did post the packaged little snack pack that I bought, that didn't have any seasoning on the nuts. So you can definitely choose the raw, unseasoned nuts that are available as well. But I wanted to show a little bit of variation between things that you could choose. So along the lines of when you're out at a restaurant, particularly, an airport restaurant where the menu may be a little bit truncated versus somewhere that you're going to go to in town, same principles apply. If you have the option to pick a salad that maybe have grilled chicken or shrimp or something that, again, you can add as a protein versus something like a burger that's going to have more bread, more sauces, things like that. And the nice thing about really simple salads is that you can always ask for a vinegar type of dressing. So like an oil and vinegar dressing versus like a house dressing that's traditionally going to be more ranch and cream based, or Thousand Island, things like that. So you can generally, most places will have some kind of vinaigrette based dressing that's going to be more oil and vinegar than the creams and heavy processed products and sugar added to. And then just be aware of what things are coming in that salad. So are you looking for something with tomatoes or olives or onions, something again that's recognizable versus croutons and, processed ingredients. So that's generally relatively easy to find. Other things that I noticed at the airport that I think everybody offers a burger. There's always a place you can go find a burger and try to simplify it. You can always ask for a burger with a lettuce wrap or made as a lettuce wrap to avoid the extra bread and the extra flour and processed ingredients. And then if you're somewhere like Starbucks, for example, they're making more of the cheese nut protein packets. Then they still have their wraps and sandwiches and breads and baked products. But I did notice some newer kind of versions of the protein packs that have more cheese, a couple different variations of cheese, maybe some dried apricots or prunes, and then a few crackers or sort of your carbohydrate base. You can always skip the crackers if you choose, if that's something that comes with it and you don't necessarily want it. And then opt for things, again, that are just more recognizable, right? Your hard-boiled egg in the protein pack. And I think some of them have like a nut butter with a little bit of a whole grain piece of bread, things like that. So those are going to be healthier, more anti-inflammatory meal substitutes for you than the things like your lemon loaf cake or your seasonal, banana bread or muffins or things like that. And then again, just to really steer your eyes away from the chips and, again, kind of prepackaged manufactured products. So I did notice a lot more, I guess if you want to say, healthier options in the airport And I flew in and out from Arizona and Atlanta. So somewhere like Atlanta, where there's, a plethora of food, it's a really big airport. There's a lot of choices. I noticed there were just more options than I kind of remember seeing. And the more that you pay attention to these things, the more your eye is going to be drawn to looking for those options. So you're not going to necessarily settle with your bag of, Lay's potato chips or something like that, or candy and soda products. So I think a lot of places are really trying to incorporate, again, healthier snack options into their offerings. So I just thought that this was a great topic to touch on to help us in our travel plans and as we prepare to travel. Again, trying to prepare something and take it with you is a great option. But if you find that you're short on time, if you find that you're just, again, have a little bit longer of a layover and you're stuck looking for something to eat, just spend a few extra minutes and think about what you're trying to accomplish. Are you hungry and looking for nutrition versus just that mindless snacking kind of habit that we find ourselves into when we're bored? So again, we want to nourish our bodies with healthy, nutritious products and replace those refined carbohydrates and heavy sugar things that we may have been drawn to in the past. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful for you, and I can't wait for the next episode. I'm going to highlight a macaroni and cheese recipe that my family devoured last night. So that will come up later this week. Stay tuned on Thursday for another episode of Eat Well, Feel Well. And I hope this episode was helpful. Please share with a friend who might be traveling, share with a family member who you know is going to have, a summer trip. And if we can just all start to think about how nutritious ingredients start to affect our body and trigger less inflammation, which ultimately improves our pain and helps us feel better, then we can start a movement to eat well and feel well. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.